Impact Wrestling, MLW, Major League Wrestling, and Ring of Honor. Could all three companies be about to undertake in a talent exchange of sorts? Now, this is pure speculation on my point. I must stress this going forward. I'm trying to sort of read the tea leaves as they were and see if this potentially could happen, because it's a very interesting proposition, I think, at this point. Now, Major League Wrestling CEO Court Bauer this week responded to a fan on Twitter who suggested that a possible crossover could take place between MLW and Impact Wrestling. Now, Court Bauer has admitted that nothing is currently in the works to have a talent exchange or a crossover between the two promotions. However, he could potentially see a collaboration in the future, before praising Impact Wrestling's product and Executive Vice President Scott D'Amore. Court Bauer said, quote, "Nothing is in the works, but never say never. All of our experiences in the past with them being Impact Wrestling, have been positive. Scott D'Amore and everyone over at Impact Wrestling are doing great stuff. I wish them continued success." Now, of course, MLW recently signed a new deal with Fubo Sports to air their weekly episodic program Fusion on their network. So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting that potentially we could see a collaboration between them in the future. Impact Wrestling and MLW have always kind of flirted with the possibility of working with each other, and considering the recent success that we've seen with Impact Wrestling and the recent just great product by Impact Wrestling, I think a collaboration between the likes of Impact Wrestling and MLW in the future would be fantastic. MLW's got some fantastic talent that I think would be great in Impact Wrestling, and I think Impact Wrestling could share some fantastic talent that would work great in MLW too. Now, how does Ring of Honor fit into all of this? Well, Ring of Honor this past week, it was announced not by Ring of Honor, it was announced by the likes of PW Insider and confirmed by various other sources that Impact Wrestling's EC3 is going to be making his Ring of Honor debut at the ROH tapings this week. Now, I don't know if the tapings have already happened. I'm assuming that they have, and therefore EC3 has already made his debut. But we'll see that happen once they begin airing those ROH specials from week to week. Now, EC3 has already made an impact with Impact Wrestling when he returned to the company at Slammiversary, but he also teased potentially going to Ring of Honor, and it appears that this is definitely going to happen. Now, Ring of Honor is ready to resume hosting television tapings. They've started taping this week, and they'll be continuing to tape this month. And it's interesting that EC3 is going to be a part of it. Now, WrestleZone actually confirmed the report that EC3 was going to be involved in ROH's tapings in Baltimore. They reached out to EC3 for confirmation, and he said, quote, there is more than one narrative to control," end quote. Now, as I mentioned, EC3 recently returned to Impact Wrestling, making his return to the company at Slammiversary after the former TNA World Heavyweight Champion was released by WWE earlier this year in April due to COVID-19 related budget cuts. He's publicly stated that he's not under contract with Impact Wrestling, which does leave the door open for him to appear where he would like. Now, I must say that I don't necessarily, and we've covered the EC3 to ROH deal in quite greater depth here on the channel, so this is nothing new that I'm saying here, but I do think that EC3 has signed a deal with Impact Wrestling. I think the idea that he would just be working on a handshake deal, or I guess in the pandemic, an elbow bump deal, or a fist bump deal with Impact Wrestling isn't true. I think he probably has signed some form of an agreement with Impact Wrestling. However, there are likely to be clauses and conditions in that deal that he can work with other companies should Impact allow that. One of those companies is Ring of Honor. Potentially, could one of those companies be MLW? Now, EC3 is currently in the early stages of a feud with Moose over the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, and this past week at Impact Emergence, he actually attacked Moose after Moose defeated Trey Miguel to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and left with the white leather strap of the TNA World Heavyweight title. So does this mean that EC3 is going to be taking the TNA World Heavyweight Championship with him to these Ring of Honor television tapings? Now, it's certainly possible that that could be the case. It's not going to be confirmed. It depends how much content Ring of Honor are taping here. I'm assuming they're going to be taping several weeks of content here. So if EC3 did show up with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, there might be a continuity error if in a couple of weeks Moose gets it back from EC3 on Impact Wrestling. So I think the likelihood of him showing up in Ring of Honor with the TNA World Heavyweight title is unlikely, but if he does, that's a good indicator that there is some form of a working relationship between ROH and Impact Wrestling. Now, Ring of Honor, when doing their TV tapings, have stated that they will adhere to a very stringent protocol as well as regulations set in place by the Maryland State Athletic Commission when they return to TV to do the television tapings. Ring of Honor will be instituting necessary testing and safety measures in a continued effort to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Fans and non-essential staff will not be permitted. Also, on the site of the TV tapings, they said, quote, "Taking care of our people during this difficult time has been and still is our number one priority." That was Ring of Honor Chief Operating Officer Joe Koff. He also said, "That's why we have spent many weeks working alongside the Maryland State Commission in gearing towards our return to producing wrestling action. The strictest of protocols, testing and measures will be in place to assure this of this directive." Now, these television tapings also will pick up right where Ring of Honor left off and focus on the Ring of Honor Pure Title Tournament, which of course had originally been scheduled for April, but it does open the door that have Impact Wrestling got a now working relationship with Ring of Honor, or is this something just exclusive to EC3? I would lean to the side that this is something exclusive to EC3. However, during a very difficult time, like Joe Koff just said, different strange situations and strange circumstances cause for strange deals that might not have been possible before. It might be in the best interest of a Ring of Honor, of an MLW and an Impact Wrestling to soften those borders and allow talent to go back and forth. It makes it easier for talent to work and for talent to get paid. It also makes it easier to have great talent on all the respective television shows. So that's certainly something that they could consider there. Now, there have always been a bit of a frosty relationship, I would say, between Impact Wrestling and MLW. Back in February of 2020, the Wrestling Observer newsletter was reporting that Major League Wrestling is said to be having issues with Impact Wrestling. According to reports, MLW has said that Impact tried to break up their partnerships with both Pro Wrestling Noah and AAA. In the case of AAA, it didn't work, as Conan and Laredo Kid appeared on recent shows of Impact Wrestling. However, fans have speculated for a while that there is a little bit of tension between Impact Wrestling and MLW, and this goes back to even in October of 2018. There were fans speculating even back then, 2 years ago, that there was a relationship between MLW and Impact, but it was strained. However, reports at that time said it was actually quite the contrary. The two promotions have an open board, or used to have at least an open borders relationship, utilizing some of the same talent at the time. This was at the time in which Pentagon Jr., Ray Phoenix, and Sami Callihan and others appeared on both Impact Wrestling and also appeared on MLW Fusion. Now, obviously, those names are no longer with the company. In the case of Sami Callihan, he split ties with MLW due to the Jim Cornette incidents when Jim Cornette was doing color commentary with MLW. Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix are no longer with either company. They're with AEW. But at the time, people that were appearing on one show were appearing on the other show. So this relationship has been there in the past, and in addition to that, they ran shows at the same venues, such as New York City's Melrose Ballroom. Court Bauer at the time said it was, quote, "beyond ridiculous," end quote, that certain people are trying to portray MLW and Impact's relationship as negative. In fact, Bauer and Impact Wrestling official at the time, Sanjay Dutt, also made dinner plans on social media. Sanjay Dutt, of course, is now with WWE, but this was an indicator that the relationship between MLW and Impact was far from strained. In fact, it was very good. So, as I mentioned earlier in the week, Court Bauer said that there isn't a relationship right now, but if you look at the history, there has been one there in the past. So I think that potentially we could see something happen in the future. You have to look at it from several points of view. And how does Ring of Honor factor into this? How does MLW factor into this? How does Impact factor into this? Impact Wrestling doesn't need the talent, in my opinion. Their roster is actually very strong right now. They've got a ton of momentum. They've got a ton of good press. And a lot of people talking positively about Impact Wrestling right now. Coming out of Slammiversary, coming off of Impact Emergence, you've got stars like the Good Brothers making their debuts with the company. You've got stars like Eric Young. returning to the company. You've got people like Heath also coming to the company. You've got the likes of EC3 returning to the company. There's a lot of positive talk and positive momentum right now with Impact Wrestling. So who really benefits out of this the most? I think MLW could certainly benefit by having people like EC3 potentially crossover, having people like Heath Slater potentially crossover, and who knows, maybe even the Good Brothers could cross over to MLW and Ring of Honor too. The Good Brothers actually do have history with Ring of Honor. Remember that Ring of Honor did have that relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I don't know if it's still the case now, but they used to have that relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Gallows and Anderson have history of Ring of Honor too. So there's a lot of moving parts in this one, but I wouldn't rule it out. And as I mentioned, during the pandemic time, we know that a lot of talent have been sitting at home because they haven't been able to work. There's been no independent bookings. MLW and Ring of Honor haven't necessarily been running shows as frequently as the likes of Impact. All of these promotions are starting to pick up now and starting to hold tapings once again. MLW has been very open, saying that they'll run tapings once it's safe to do so again. And he's been very strict, Court Bauer, about putting everything on hold and not doing anything until it's safe to do so. Now that we're seeing more independent shows pop up, greater understanding about what it takes to put on the shows, as Ring of Honor said, they worked very closely with the Maryland State Athletic Commission to realize, okay, how do we put this on and how do we do it safely and how do we minimize the risk? And as I mentioned previously, you've got to commend Ring of Honor for that, because I think their work in taking their time, figuring out how to do it and how to do it safely has been top notch. When you've got other larger companies who ignored social distancing protocols, ignored wearing masks, ignored very important details, it's refreshing to see people like Ring of Honor actually take the pandemic seriously and do the right thing. And I don't doubt that MLW won't be far behind that. I think they'll do something similar. I would be very interested in seeing the top guys of MLW and the likes of the big guys in MLW and Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling all be able to jump and regularly appear on all the programmings. I think that would be very, very interesting. I like the idea of the likes of Jacob Fatu appearing in Impact Wrestling or Ring of Honor. I like the idea of Alexander Hammerstone, who is an absolute hoss, appearing on Impact Wrestling, because I think they'd be great additions to the roster, but it works both ways. I think having someone like EC3 and the Good Brothers appear on MLW would be a massive boost to their show. I would be really interested in seeing, say, the Good Brothers go up against the Von Erichs, or I'd be really interested in seeing the Motor City Machine Guns go up against the Von Erichs, or actually, how about having the North? I think the North going up against the likes of the Von Erichs in MLW would be fun, or going up against tag teams in Ring of Honor too. Of course, Chris Sabin was previously with Ring of Honor earlier this year, so as I mentioned, there's a lot of different names here that are familiar with all of these companies. And as I mentioned before, whilst there is nothing that has been officially confirmed as of yet about a working deal, there have been deals in place in the past, so it's certainly possible that we could see a future relationship between all of the companies. But what are your thoughts? Do you think we could see a working relationship between MLW, between Impact Wrestling, and between Ring of Honor soon to appear? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments in the comment section below. Really enjoy interacting with you guys here on the channel. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. It really does help us out get up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds here on YouTube. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. We're over 700 subscribers now. The next goal is 800 subscribers on that long road to 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000, we'll be doing a lot more live streams, watch alongs, and a lot of fun stuff here on the channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. Just know if you have subscribed that I really do appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch any of the videos or listen to anything I have to say. It's all about wrestling here and just talking about wrestling and chatting amongst friends, so I really do appreciate it. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365 Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews 365 on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.